Good evening, everyone. There's something I've learned through the chaos, through the heartbreaks, the failures, the applause, and the quiet. Everything happens for a reason. I know when you're in the middle of pain or confusion or rejection, that phrase can sound like an empty cliche, but let me tell you, it's not. It's survival. It's transformation. It's the belief that the dots will connect eventually. Life doesn't unfold like a perfectly written script. It's messy. It throws curveballs. Sometimes it slams doors so hard you wonder if they were ever meant to open. But here's the secret: every closed door redirects you. Every fall teaches you how to land on your feet. Every heartbreak cracks you open just enough to let the light in. There were times I questioned the plan. Reason wasn't clear, but years later I could trace the line from that rejection letter to the breakthrough that changed my life. I could connect the heartbreak to the self-love I had to discover. I could see that pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Don't be afraid of the unknown. Don't rush to fix what feels broken. Sit with the chaos, let it teach you. Because what feels like the end today could just be the beginning you never expected. Trust the process. Trust your fight. Trust your power. Because yes, everything really does happen for a reason. Thank you. We live in a world obsessed with control. From vision boards to 5-year plans, we're taught to believe that life is only successful if it's neatly laid out. But the truth, real life doesn't follow a blueprint. It shifts, detours, and sometimes crashes through everything you thought you knew. And in those moments when the future is a big question mark, it's tempting to panic, to try and grab the reins, to force clarity. But uncertainty isn't the enemy. It's the beginning of something new. The most powerful transitions in life don't happen when everything's going according to plan. They happen in the in-between. In the messy middle. You've outgrown what you were, but haven't yet figured out what comes next. That space, scary as it may feel, is sacred. It's where transformation brews. It's where you stop operating from habit and start listening to instinct. You begin asking deeper questions. Who am I without the title, without the spotlight, without the approval? That's where your truth lives. So many people fear uncertainty because they mistake it for weakness or lack of direction. But in reality, sitting with the unknown is one of the bravest things you can do. It means you're not rushing to patch up your identity with temporary answers. You're allowing space for real answers to find you, and trust me, answers will come, maybe not on your timeline, but in their own divine timing, and they will be louder, clearer, and more aligned than anything you could have forced. I've been through phases where nothing made sense, where I questioned if I was doing the right thing or if I had made the biggest mistake of my life. But it was during those periods of doubt that I learned how to become grounded in who I was, not just in what I did. I stopped looking for certainty in people, in headlines, in achievements. I started building it inside me. That's when I realized you don't need to have all the answers. You just need the courage to keep showing up, even in the dark. There's something incredibly liberating about letting go of the need to always know what's next. Opens you up to opportunities you didn't even know existed. It makes room for surprises, for reinvention, for a story that's far more thrilling than anything you could have written yourself. So instead of fearing uncertainty, lean into it. Let it stretch you. Let it teach you. Unravel parts of you that no longer serve who you're becoming. Pain has a way of commanding our attention. It shows up uninvited, in heartbreak, in failure, in moments when everything we counted on slips away. And yet, instead of honoring it, most of us try to escape it. We distract ourselves, bury it under business, pretend it doesn't hurt. But pain isn't just something to get through. It's something to learn from. It's one of the greatest teachers life gives us. It strips away the noise and leaves behind only what's real. There's a kind of clarity that comes with pain that comfort could never offer. When you're hurting, you begin to see what truly matters. You find out who's really there for you. You discover what parts of your identity were built on validation instead of truth. Pain forces you to dig deep. It pushes you to confront your own reflection, to ask the hard questions, and to do the inner work most people run from. And that inner work, that's where real power lives. I've gone through seasons of pain that felt unbearable at the time. Losses I didn't think I could rise from. betrayals that broke my sense of safety, and failures that shook my confidence to its core. But in every one of those moments, pain did something remarkable, peeled back the layers. It made me tougher, sharper, more self-aware. It taught me not to seek comfort in other people's approval, but to build security within myself. And when I emerged, I wasn't the same. I was more. People often talk about success as if it's the goal, but success teaches you far less than pain ever will. Pain is honest. It reveals your limits and dares you to break past them. It humbles you, yes, but it also rebuilds you stronger. There is a kind of resilience born only through suffering, not the glamorous kind, not the kind you post about, but the quiet kind that sits deep in your chest and says, I've been through worse, I can handle this. That's a gift. A painful one, but a gift all the same. When you stop running from pain and instead ask it, what are you here to teach me? Everything changes. It becomes a doorway to growth, not just a wound to survive. Because the truth is, pain is not a punishment, it's preparation. It's shaping you for what you asked for who you're meant to become. It refines your character, deepens your empathy, and strengthens your purpose. The most evolved, grounded, and powerful people you'll ever meet have all been shaped by pain, and they've listened to it. We're conditioned to see rejection as failure. When a door closes, whether it's a missed opportunity, a relationship that ends, or a goal that doesn't pan out, we take it personally. We start questioning our worth. We wonder, was I not good enough? But here's the truth. Not every door is meant to open for you. And not because you're not capable, but because some doors would have taken you somewhere that would have kept you small. Closed doors are not punishments, they are course corrections. Some of the best things that have ever happened in my life came directly after a no. And in those moments, it didn't feel like a blessing. It felt like rejection. It felt like loss. But time has a funny way of revealing the purpose behind the pain. That the role you didn't get, deal that fell through, that person who walked away, they were all part of the divine redirection. The universe has a way of protecting you from the things you think you want to guide you toward the things you actually need. It's hard to accept that something you poured your heart into might not be meant for you. What's meant for you won't require you to beg, break, or shrink. Sometimes the door slams shut not because you're lacking, but because you're outgrowing it. Or maybe because what waits on the other side of a different door is so much bigger than anything you were settling for. And to get there, you needed to be pushed out of comfort, out of habit, out of what was familiar. We live in a society obsessed with achievement, where every detour feels like a delay. But delays are often divine. A no isn't the end. It's a nudge, a redirection. It's life saying, there's something else. Keep going. And if you listen, if you stop trying to force what doesn't fit, you'll find yourself walking through a door that doesn't just open, it welcomes you. Door that aligns with who you truly are, not just who you are trying to be to please someone else. The challenge is to not let closed doors close your spirit. Just because something didn't happen the way you imagined doesn't mean it won't happen at all. It just might come in a different form, at a different time, through a door you didn't even notice before. That's the beauty of redirection. It requires trust. Trust that the bigger picture is still unfolding. Trust that your path hasn't ended. It's just been rerouted for something greater, something that fits not just your ambition but your evolution. Rarely makes sense when you're in the middle of it. We want clarity now, answers now, outcomes now. But life doesn't work on our timeline. It unfolds in pieces. And in those early stages, the pieces don't always look like they belong to the same puzzle. You experience heartbreak, failure, detours, strange coincidences, even painful losses, and you think, why is this happening to me? But when you look back, years later from a place of perspective, you begin to see the pattern. The way one thing led to another, the way that random moment was actually the start of something life-changing. Everything connects eventually. There's something beautifully humbling about realizing that you don't have to understand everything in real time. Some connections are invisible at first. You don't realize that the job you didn't get taught you how to speak up for yourself, or that the person who broke your heart taught you to stop abandoning your own needs, or that the place you were forced to leave ended up being the push you needed to build your own lane. Thread is always there, you just can't see it. When you're too close to the fabric, we tend to view life like a straight road. Step 1 leads to step 2, and so on. In truth, it's more like a web. Everything is connected, but not always in a straight line. Sometimes you have to take the long way. Sometimes the detour is the destination. And it's only once you've lived through enough of it that you can stand still and say, oh, now I get it. That happened, so this could happen. What felt like delay was preparation. What felt like failure was redirection. What felt like loss was making room for what you truly deserved. It takes a lot of patience to live without all the answers, but you don't need all of them right now. What you need is the courage to move forward even when the path doesn't look like anyone else's, even when the connections haven't revealed themselves yet. You trust that every conversation, every risk, every ending is part of a bigger story that's still unfolding. And if you keep walking, if you keep showing up open-hearted, open-minded, one day it all makes sense. Not in a predictable way, but in a deeply personal way, in a way that makes you proud of how far you've come. There's power in not needing immediate validation, in not needing everything to click instantly. Sometimes the universe withholds the full picture so that you stay present in the lesson. Because if you knew how beautifully it would all come together, you wouldn't grow through the process, you'd rush to the end. But you're not just here to arrive, you're here to become. And becoming takes time, trust, and the faith to believe that no piece of your story is ever wasted, not one moment, not one heartbreak, not one chapter. Doesn't happen in comfort. Comfort may feel safe, it's predictable, familiar, easy, but it rarely pushes you to evolve. The truth is, transformation begins where comfort ends, the moment you're stretched beyond what you think you can handle, when everything inside you wants to retreat. That's where real change lives. It's not glamorous, it's raw, messy, and often uncomfortable, but that discomfort is the price of becoming someone new, someone stronger, deeper, more aware of your own power. Think about it, a seed has to crack open to become a tree. A butterfly has to struggle through a cocoon to take flight. You don't get to skip the hard part if you want to evolve. Discomfort isn't a sign that something's going wrong. It's a sign that something real is happening. You're being challenged emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It's because you're being called to grow beyond the limits you've outgrown. You're being asked to let go of the old version of yourself and step into the next. But here's what most people won't tell you: transformation is lonely. When you're changing, not everyone will understand you. Some people will fall away. Some parts of your identity won't fit anymore. And that's painful. That space, the space where you're no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming, is sacred. It's where you do the deep work. It's where you start unlearning everything that held you back and start building a foundation that actually reflects who you are now. The discomfort isn't just about external change, it's internal too. It's the moment you stop blaming everyone else and start taking responsibility. It's the hard conversations with yourself, the ones where you realize you've been playing small, settling, self-sabotaging. But instead of breaking you, honesty liberates you. It becomes the fuel for reinvention, and suddenly what once scared you becomes the very thing that reshapes you. You stop fearing discomfort and start respecting it, because now you know it's not the enemy, it's the path. The people you admire, the ones who radiate confidence and purpose, they didn't get there by avoiding discomfort. They went through the fire, they broke down to break open. And that's what transformation is. It's not a straight line, it's a shedding, a rebuilding, a rising. You don't become powerful by pretending everything's fine. You become powerful by facing what isn't and doing the work anyway. The pain is temporary, the change is permanent, and the version of you on the other side, worth every uncomfortable step. We live in a world that glorifies movement. Hustle culture teaches us that if we're not constantly grinding, evolving, achieving, or updating, then we're somehow falling behind. We equate stillness with stagnation, as if pausing is the same as failing. But here's the truth that only time and experience can teach you. Stillness is not a lack of progress, it's part of the process. In fact, some of the most powerful shifts in your life happen when nothing seems to be happening at all. There's a sacred kind of wisdom that lives in stillness. It's the space between endings and beginnings, the space where reflection lives, where clarity is born. When life slows down or forces you into a pause, whether by burnout, heartbreak, or just plain exhaustion, it's often because something within you needs your attention, not your performance, not your productivity. Just your presence. It's asking you to stop and listen to your body, your intuition, your truth, the parts of you that get drowned out in the noise. Stillness is where you meet yourself without the roles, without the expectations, without the audience. It's uncomfortable, yes, because silence can be confronting. It holds up a mirror and shows you what you've been running from, grief you haven't processed, dreams you've abandoned, patterns you keep repeating. But it also offers healing if you let it. In that quiet space, you begin to realign with your purpose. You start separating who you truly are from who you've been pretending to be just to survive. The greatest transformations are not always loud. They don't always come with applause or announcements. Sometimes they happen in stillness, in solitude, in the moments when you're sitting alone, unsure of what comes next, choosing not to rush. That's power, because when you stop reacting and start reflecting, you reclaim your energy. You stop moving out of fear or desperation. Start making decisions from a place of alignment, from wholeness, from peace. That's where real direction comes from. So no, stillness isn't a waste of time. It's preparation. It's the pause before the leap, the inhale before the exhale, the silence before the breakthrough. If you find yourself in a season where nothing seems to be moving, don't panic. Don't rush to escape it. Ask instead, what is this stillness here to show me? Because often it's not the world that needs to change. It's you who needs to listen more deeply. And the answers tend to show up when you stop chasing and start trusting. Most people have no idea how powerful they truly are until life gives them no choice but to find out. Strength isn't something you only discover when you feel ready. It often reveals itself in the middle of crisis, heartbreak, loss, or uncertainty. It's when your back is against the wall, when the plan has unraveled, and when no one else seems to have the answers, and yet somehow you get back up, you keep breathing, you keep going. That's not just survival, that's strength. And it's already in you, whether you believe it or not. We tend to underestimate ourselves, especially in moments when we feel broken or defeated. But here's what I've learned: strength doesn't always look like winning. Sometimes it looks like crying and still showing up. Sometimes it looks like walking away from something that once defined you. Sometimes it looks like speaking up when your voice shakes, or starting over with nothing but your will to try again. That quiet courage, the kind nobody sees but you feel deep in your bones, that's the kind of strength that transforms your life. The world will try to measure you by the trophies you've won, the milestones you've reached, the titles you carry. But your real strength isn't in those things. It's in your ability to endure, to feel deeply without becoming bitter, to be disappointed but still open-hearted, to be knocked down by life and refuse to stay small. Every scar you carry, every time you doubted yourself and chose to keep going anyway, that's evidence of your strength. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's fierce and it's real. And the most beautiful part, strength builds in layers. Every time you face something hard, you expand. You grow a little more confident in your ability to carry yourself through the storm. You become less afraid of pain and more aware of your capacity. You start to realize you don't need perfect circumstances to be okay. You need trust in yourself. You begin to understand that life will test you, not to break you, to reveal the power you've always had. And that power, it's limitless once you stop doubting it. So many of us are waiting to feel strong before we take the leap, before we speak the truth, before we change our lives. But strength doesn't arrive first. Action does. You step into the fire and then realize you can handle the heat. You take the risk and then discover you had wings all along. You don't need to be fearless to be strong. You just need to choose not to give up, even when everything in you wants to. That moment right there, that's where your real power lives. Fear is one of the most natural emotions we experience. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. It's human, but fear, if left unchecked, becomes a quiet dictator. It whispers, stay small, play safe, don't try, you might fail. It convinces you to settle for less than what you're capable of. That's why choosing faith over fear isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. It's waking up and deciding that your dreams are bigger than your doubts. Your purpose is louder than your panic. Faith doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you move anyway. It means you take the job, speak your truth, say yes to love, walk away from what no longer serves you, not because it's easy, but because you believe there's something more waiting on the other side of discomfort. Faith is the quiet confidence that says, even if I don't know how this ends, I trust that I'll be okay. And that kind of belief, that's where real power begins. Not in certainty, but in courage. In a world obsessed with control, faith requires surrender. It asks you to let go of the illusion that you can plan every detail, time every moment, predict every outcome. It dares you to release your grip on perfection and trust that what's meant for you won't miss you. Even your detours and delays are part of the path. Every step, especially the uncertain ones, are working together to shape a future far greater than anything you could script on your own. Some of the most defining moments of your life will happen when you're terrified but say yes anyway. When you're unsure but take the leap. That's the difference between people who live in fear and those who live in faith. It's not about luck or talent. It's about choosing to believe in the unseen. Trust that you are being guided even when the road is dark, even when the answers aren't clear. Faith isn't passive, it's active. It's how warriors move through the unknown with grace. Fear is loud, but faith is steady. It doesn't scream, it grounds you. It reminds you of your resilience, your purpose, your power. It gives you the courage to rewrite your story instead of reliving the same chapter. It asks you to believe that everything you've been through has not been for nothing, that there is meaning even in the mess, and that you are not alone on the journey. Choosing faith over fear is not about being fearless, it's about being free.